Every UFC division's most underrated and overrated fighters. Let's go. Starting off at Flyweight, got the former champ Alejandro Pantoja. You might be asking why is he underrated? He was a champion. He's the number one contender right now. But dude, after he broke his arm against Van, everyone has been counting him out. Everyone's been calling him trash. Everyone's been calling him a flukester. Everyone's just glazing Josh Van, even though people forget, man. Josh Van did not beat Pantoja, bro. Pantoja got injured. It was a fluke injury. People saying that Josh Van caused the injury do not know what they're talking about. That was the biggest fluke ever. Pantoja landing on his arm. He does that in every one of his fights. Watch it. He always throws that kick. People trip him, and then he goes for the roll. It was an absolute fluke. But people forget, man. Pantoja before that had 4 title defenses. He does the 4. He had 4 title defenses. Destroyed Kai Car France. Destroyed Moreno. Destroyed Orval. Destroyed what's his name? Kai Asakura. He's just been submitting guys, destroying guys. I'm a big fan of Pantoja. He's very entertaining. People switched up on him, man, but I think he's gonna come back and take the belt for Josh Van. Now to the most overrated fighter, Tatsuro Taira. To be honest, guys, why I'm calling him the most overrated fighter, man. A lot of people are picking him to beat Josh Van. A lot of people are picking him to be this hyped up prospect. Oh my gosh, his grappling is so good. But man, I don't think he's up there, man. I don't think he'll ever be a champ, man. Maybe not in the near future, man. He's still young. He's like 25. But I picked him, man. I picked Josh Van on my verdict. Even though I didn't have a YouTube channel, I picked Josh Van. He lost to Brandon Royval. He got beat by Brandon Royval. He already got fraud checked by Royval. I just never thought he was one of the top 3, top 4 contenders, man. I always thought Josh Van was better, Pantoja was better, Royval. He did beat Moreno, but I think Makai is better. So I don't think he'll ever hit that top 4. And I think also Manel Cap is better. I don't think he'll ever be those top guys. I don't think he'll be a champ in the next couple of years. Maybe he might get a fluke, but I don't see him as one of the top 4 contenders in this division. He is a great fighter. Great grappling, great submissions, but I just don't see it. Going on to my next division, we got Bantamweight. The most underrated is David Martinez. Man, a lot of you guys might not know who David Martinez is, man, but David Martinez just beat 2 old heads. He beat Marlon Vera and Rob Font, 2 great boxers, two old heads that used to be at the top of the rankings. But man, David Martinez surprised me, man. Especially after he beat Rob Font. Dude, his boxing is so... He beat Rob Font just in the striking, That's actually really impressive. Corey Sandhagen, he had to wrestle Rob Font. He could not strike with Rob Font. David Martinez has super crisp boxing on the feet. It was beautiful watching him fight against Rob Font and Marlon Vera. He has a bit of power, He didn't knock out Marlon Vera or Rob Font, but it was 2 dominant decisions. I won't say dominant, but it was pretty clear. We know who won that fight, with his 1-2s. I think he's an up-and-comer in this division, and no one really talks about him. No one talks about him at all. I think David Martinez will soon crack the top 10, top 5. Right now he's sitting outside at like 12, 13 in the rankings, but I think he's going to get up there. I think he should fight a guy like... I think he should fight someone up the rankings, maybe like a Basharat or someone like that, get him a high matchup fight. Maybe a Mario Batista, even though he's fighting Corey Sandhagen. I think he should fight the loser of Corey Sandhagen versus Mario Batista. That's a good matchup right there. All right, next one. Bantamweight's most overrated. Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar, man, I think he's good, man, but I think he's very overrated, man. Outside of his performance against Ronnie Barcelos, he's been absolutely boring and freaking has not done anything in the UFC to entertain the fans at all. He put Ronnie Barcelos to sleep, but outside of that, he put the fans to sleep, except for the Merab fight. But that was all Merab's doing. He made the fight fun. Umar just tried to sniff his crotch and fight on the outside, what he does every match. He gets dropped every single fight. He got dropped against what's his name, Batista. He got dropped against Figueiredo, but he just smudges. It's Backside on Hakan. He got dropped and just smudged his way to a win. I think he's very overrated. He's very skilled, but he's just a very boring fighter. Could he? I'm not saying in terms of title contention, but I'm saying in terms of just being a star overall. You know, I think he might be able to become a champ soon. I think he might be a bad matchup for Peter Yan if they ever do fight, but man, he's very boring. He puts the fans to sleep, man. I get a nice pillow when I watch him fight because I know I'm going to sleep. All right, next one. Featherweight's most underrated prospect, Gene Silva, my boy right here. Man, a lot of you guys after he lost to Diego Lopez, y'all switched up on him, but I gotta tell you guys right now, no one's been saying this, but that fight versus Diego Lopez was an absolute fluke. As I say it, man, that was an absolute fluke. You know, Gene Silva was absolutely destroying him on the feet when he was on the feet. He got tripped into a takedown. He literally tripped. It was the most flukest takedown I've ever seen. He got beat up on top for a little bit, but I swear to you, if Gene Silva fought Diego Lopez again, he would absolutely knock him out. Gene Silva and Diego Lopez are not anywhere in the same stratosphere. Gene Silva is freaking Saturn, and Diego Lopez is freaking the moon, bro, in terms of where they are. Gene Silva, he has all the aura. He's so much power. He's been knocking out, getting good decisions, good fights. He's very exciting. Diego Lopez is also very exciting. That was an amazing fight. But Gene Silva was absolutely knocking Diego Lopez's head off, but then he got a little too antsy, and then he got caught with a spinning elbow, a very fluky spinning elbow, which sucked, but, he bounced back with the win against Arnold Allen, masterclass. He out-decisioned Arnold Allen. But yeah, man, he's going to climb to the top. I think he will be champ, I think that was a learning lesson against Diego Lopez, and I think in a rematch, he's going to cook Diego Lopez. I think he's the guy to beat Volk, honestly, man. In this division right now, I think Gene Silva will beat Volk, I don't see a way path to victory for Volk. He might catch him on the outside, but I think Gene Silva will catch that chin when Volk trying to get in that pocket, trying to enter into range, maybe one throwing a leg kick. I think Gene Silva's the guy in the featherweight division. Now next, the most overrated fighter, we got Movsar the Pedo Evloev. So guys, why I'm saying he's the most overrated, man. Movsar has absolutely done nothing in the UFC to prove he's the top guy. Outside of boring decisions. He's got some robberies, man. People forget, man. Arnold Allen, he lost rounds 1 and 2. Aljamain Sterling, he arguably lost that fight. Diego Lopez, he almost lost on a 5 days notice. He's not been the best. He has 0 finishes in the UFC, 0 finishes. Not one finish, he can't even finish his girl in bed. He has 0 kids, does nothing all day. He's just waiting for a title shot, puts the fans to sleep. I literally fell asleep when he fought Lerone Murphy. That was the worst fight I've ever seen. I couldn't, I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't fall asleep. I turned it off, bro. I turned off the UFC. Did something productive for my day instead of watching him, the absolute most boring fighter in the UFC, Movsar Evloev. But speaking to him in a statistical ways, I think he could pose a matchup to Volk, but he's gonna fight Volk and then he's just gonna get outstruck. He can't take him down. I don't think he'll be able to take Volk down. Islam could barely take Volk down. I don't think Movsar is. Movsar has absolute pillow punches on the feet. He's gonna try to get takedowns with his Dagestani strength, but his strength of the brothers, but I don't think he will be able to do it. I think Volk is going to win this one by 50-45, 49-46, Moving on. Lightweight's most underrated, Arman Tsarukyan. Armin, he's been doing a lot of things lately, not a lot of UFC things. He's been at RAF, causing up beef, trying to get Nina Drama's DMs, but I think Arman Tsarukyan's the most underrated fighter, man. People forget, man. He beat Charles Oliveira. He was really about to fight Islam, but, something with his back happened, the weight cut, But I think Armin was always the guy to beat Ilya Topuria. I don't know how Justin Gaethje got a title shot over Armin, but whatever, bro. Armin is really skilled on the feet, really polished grappler. He's very well rounded. He's a big lightweight. He's freaking stocky and thick. Pause. But Armin Sarukin has been absolutely amazing in the UFC. He has two losses. He lost to Gamrot in a fluke. But man, I think he was the guy to beat Ilya Topuria, and I think he'll absolutely destroy Justin Gaethje in a fight. It won't even be close. I think it'll be a 50-45, It will not be close at all versus Justin Gaethje. He's going to take him down. He's going to outstrike him on the feet. He's not going to be a brawler like Topuria, like Dustin Poirier. He's not going to be like that. He's going to stay on the outside, shoot his takedowns, He's going to be like Khabib, So I think Armin's going to be the champ soon, I think he's the most underrated in the UFC. Moving on. Most overrated, Paddy Pimblett. Might be asking, why is he overrated, man? He has done nothing in the UFC but beat grandpas that live in retirement homes, bro. His best win is Michael Chandler. Absolute hasn't won a fight in decades. Bobby Green gets knocked out every other month. He gets a win here and now, but most of his fights he gets brutally KO'd or submitted. And we got Tony Ferguson, man. Tony Ferguson, he did win in boxing, man. He won his first fight in boxing, But in the MMA, he was on, I think, a 10-fight losing streak. He hit the double digits mark. But man, I don't think Paddy's that guy, man. He kind of got in a brawl with Justin Gaethje. He went to decision. Ilya Topuria didn't even go to decision, but I think it was kind of matchups. Duke Rufus always liked to duck and move, and Paddy liked to hit knees, hit the uppercuts. I think Paddy is overrated, man. He hasn't shown he's been able to beat top guys in the division. He beat Chandler, but Chandler's literally is falling apart. He has no boxing. He just tries to throw these big meaty hooks. Bobby Green is old. He's like a 40-year-old man. He literally only beats 40-year-old men. He lost to Jared Gordon. Even though that was what he has gotten better. I can't lie. He has gotten better. He's a big fighter in the division. But I do think Benoit Saint-Denis is going to beat him. That's going to be a good fight coming up. That's going to be an absolute war. I cannot wait for that. My favorite fighter, Benoit Saint-Denis. If you didn't know him, that is my favorite fighter. But, I think he's going to lose. And moving on, we got Walter White. I got Michael Venom Page. Nobody has talked about Michael Venom Page, First, why is he underrated? First thing is, man, he barely lost to Ian Gary. In my opinion, he beat Ian Gary, bro. People forget that fight. He outstruck Gary in the first round. He got taken down in round 2. In the first 2-3 minutes of the third round, he was outstriking him on the feet. Then Gary got a takedown in the third round, and he was able to edge it out, but doing no damage on the ground. It was an absolute rigged decision. Michael Venom Page won that fight. But outside of that, man, he destroyed Kevin Holland. He beat Shariputdin Magomedov. He derailed that hype train. That win is aging very well. Shariputdin's undefeated outside of that loss to Michael Venom Page. He beat Sam Patterson. He destroyed Jared Cannonier. He literally has not lost outside of a fluke robbery to Ian Gary, the number 1 contender who's going to fight for the belt. I think MVP is very underrated, man. He has a very tricky style, man. It's hard to take him down. It's hard to get close to him. His striking, he's probably one of the best strikers in the UFC right now, arguably top 5 in my opinion. I think he's a tough matchup for anybody in the division. I think he knocks out Leon Edwards. I want to see that fight versus Leon Edwards. I think he will beat Leon Edwards, the Battle of UK. They should book it for November 2026, December 2026 in that UK card whenever they have it. I think MVP is very underrated, man. I think he's gonna go far in this division, the welterweight, or maybe if he wants to move up to middleweight, but who knows? I think MVP is the most underrated. Moving on, most overrated. Welterweight's most overrated fighter, Jack Della. Man, you might be under, man. Dude, he was just a champion, bro. He was just a champion, man. I always thought he was overrated, man. After Basil Hafez, the split decision against Basil Hafez, his split decision against Kevin Holland, man. you know, he's always been keeping it close with these old guys, bro. Basil Hafez, Kevin Holland, Gilbert Burns. He was losing that fight to Gilbert Burns, you know, the one on a 6 fight losing streak, outside of getting that knee KO in the last round, the last like few minutes of the last round. You know, he was gonna lose to Gilbert Burns, man. And I think a lot of people thought he lost to Basil Hafez, you know. But more recent times he beat Bilal, man. He did beat Bilal, but man, that one has not been aging good at all, man. Bilal has recently lost to Ian Gary, you know. And then he also lost to Gabriel Bonfim, you know. Gabriel Bonfim is an absolute nobody, bro. He's absolutely a can. I hate Gabriel Bonfim, bro. I think he's going to get fraud checked too. I think Gabriel Bonfim is going to do nothing in this division, man. You know, but I always thought Jack Della could not compete in the top 5, man. I always thought Ian Gary would beat him. I thought Carlos Prates would beat him. You know, Islam would beat him, you know. I just don't think he's there, man. I think Jack is very good, man. I think he's very good. I just don't think he'll ever reach the belt again, man. I think Islam beats him. I think Gary beats him. I think Prates beats him. I think Michael Morales would beat him. I think Michael Morales would knock him out with a straight. I think Sean Brady would absolutely grapple him, and I think he would take him down and smudge Jack Della. You know, and Sean Brady's absolutely underrated. You know, he did lose to Morales, but Morales is a weight bully monster in this division. You know, he did lose to Prates, but, you know, Prates is also like Morales, you know, very strong, a lot of power. I think Prates and Morales should fight, but yeah, man, I don't think Jack will ever touch the belt again. It's a really hard division. We got Sean Brady. I think Jack should either fight Leon Edwards or Joaquin Buckley to try to get back into the rankings, the top 5. You know, I think Leon Edwards is a good matchup, or Buckley, you know, to maybe get them back on track. All right, next division, we got middleweight. Most underrated, Nasruddin Imavov, man. Man, you guys forget, man. Imavov has been on a 3-4 fight winning streak, man. He beat Caio Borralho. He beat Borralho. He beat Cannonier. He beat I think it was, he beat Brandon Allen. He beat all of these contenders. He beat literally everyone in the top 5. You know, he did lose to Strickland, but Strickland came in 20 pounds overweight. You know, and if you got people forget, man, Imavov got skipped over the title shot because of Strickland. Strickland fought Khamzat. You know, even though Strickland did win somehow, absolute fluke, by the way. But man, people forget, man, I think Imavov is going to beat Strickland, guys, even though he has lost to him, but I think he'll adjust. He's gotten a lot better, you know. Imavov also lost to Phil Hawes back in the day, you know, so he's gotten a lot better. I think Imavov will put together some strikes, put together combinations, you know. In his last fight, Imavov was only throwing 1s and 2s, you know, but I think this fight, he's going to extend the combinations, you know. I think he's going to get the title shot next. They matched up Dricus and Usman. But I think Imavov will beat Sean Strickland in his next fight. I think that'll be a good fight, but I think Imavov will take it. He's been outclassing these people outside of the top 5. In the top 5, he's shown to be the #1 contender. He beat Caio, he beat Brendan Allen, he beat Cannonier. Yeah, I think Imavov is the most underrated. People have not been talking about him. Now we got middleweight's most overrated, Joe Salty Man Pyfer, man. Guys, you know, he did beat Israel Adesanya, bro. He did beat Israel Adesanya. He took him down. He ground and pounded him, you know. It was very sad for all of us, bro. You know, Joe Salty Man Pyfer. The reason I have him as the most overrated, man, I do not think he belongs in the top 5 at all, man. I do not think he's in the top 5. He does not deserve the top 5 spot, man. I don't think he's at the top 5 spot. I don't think he deserves to be ranked over Fluffy, Brendan Allen. Who is it? I think he's up there, but I just don't think he'll ever be a champion, man. I don't think he'll ever be a champion, man. I think these guys like Fluffy will take him down, you know, wear him out. You know, he did lose to Jack Hermanson, but, you know, he did beat Izzy, so I don't know. Because they're both similar matchups. They both like to stay on the outside, but he did lose to Jack Hermanson, you know. I think Fluffy will beat him. I think Brendan Allen will beat him. I think maybe RoboCop would beat him. I think that would be a really good matchup. I think you should match Joe Pyfer with RoboCop to see, you know, which of these guys would, you know, maybe make their name for themselves fully. You know, they both been on a couple knockout streak. LSU is really in the top 5. Put Joe Pyfer versus RoboCop. I don't see Joe Pyfer beat any of these guys. I don't think he'll beat Mvov. I don't think he'll beat Kaio. I don't think he'll beat any of these top guys. I don't think he'll beat Strickland, Kamzat. I think Joe Pyfer is very good. He's very big for this division. I think he could outpower a lot of guys, but I don't see him being in the top 5 ever, man. All right, next one, light heavyweight. We got most underrated. We got the Big Ankalaev. Why is he most underrated? I'll tell you why. He beat Alex Pereira, man. And people have not been talking about Ankalaev after he got KO'd. He did get KO'd, but I think, man, Ankalaev, he has the skills. He was rocking around Pereira on the feet, I think the biggest reason why he's the most underrated, I think he'll easily beat Carlos Ulberg. I think he'll easily beat him. I think he'll mix it up with the striking, the grappling. He's too skilled of a striker on the feet, Magomed Ankalaev is not going to do what Jiri did. He's trying to just spam left hook, KO him. He really walked into a KO shot. Magomed is a better striker on the feet than Jiri. Jiri has the power, but he'll mix it in the takedowns. But Magomed's primarily a striker on the feet. I think he'll outstrike Carlos Ulberg, and I think he'll outstrike him with the kicks. He's going to throw the leg kicks. Magomed has a really good leg kick. He's going to kick up Ulberg's torn ACL, I think he'll be able to get a decision win against Ulberg. Light heavyweight, most overrated fighter, man. We got Paulo Costa, Secret Juice. You guys might be asking, man, why is he overrated, man? Why is he overrated? He just won. But I'm seeing a lot too much Paulo Costa hype, He beat Tubby Fat Man, Azmat Mirzakhanov. But I think, man, I don't think he's as skilled enough. Not as skilled enough, but I would say I just do not think he's as good as these top 5 guys, man. I don't see him ever contending for the top 5. I don't see him ever contending for the belt. I think a lot of these guys like Jiri, I think Jan Blachowicz would beat him. I think a lot of these guys would beat him, man. He has been improving. He's got a few wins under his belt. He beat Kopylov, he beat Azamat, but man, I don't see him beating these top guys. I don't see him beating Ink. I don't see him beating, Pereira if he comes back down. I don't see him beating these other top guys in this division, man. I think Paulo Costa is very good, but, he didn't show it in the middleweight division. He lost to a lot of bad guys, man, like Vittori. He lost to Sean Strickland. That's not a bad loss, but, he did lose to a lot of these guys, Whitaker. I don't see him meeting a Whitaker again. I don't see him meeting a Krylov. I don't see him meeting a Dominic Reyes, Yeah, it's really, I just do not see Paulo Costa being in top 5. I see a lot of talk about him. All right, next one. We got light heavyweight. Heavyweight's most underrated, Alexander Volkov. People forget, man. Volkov did beat Serial Gain in the second fight. He did beat Serial Shooter Gain. People forget that fight. It was last year. I think it was 2025. Volkov literally outstruck Serial Gain for 3 rounds. That was the biggest robbery ever. People forget it because the media tried to cover it up, but Volkov literally beat Serial Gain. He outstruck him 29-28. He beat him in round 1 and round 2. And I think it was round 1 and round 3. But he did. It was a big robbery, man. People forget, man. Volkov has been on a really good streak. He beat Waldo Cortez. He's beat Sergey Spivak. He's beat all these guys outside of the rankings. I think, will he beat Aspinall? Hell no. But it's the matchups, man. That's what I'm saying about these different stylistic matchups. I think, if Gon beats Aspinall, I think Volkov could beat Gon, man. I think Volkov is that good. He beat Pavlovich. He outclassed Pavlovich on the feet, He beat Curtis Blades, I think. Yeah, he lost to Curtis Blades, but I think he would beat Curtis Blades in a rematch. He would destroy Hockett. Oh my gosh, Volkov would destroy Hockett in a fight. And yeah, I think Volkov is the number 1 contender right now outside of Gain and Pereira. Next one, we got heavyweight's most overrated fighter, Josh Hockett. The most controversial fight in the UFC right now, maybe the most popular. I think Josh Hockett is very overrated, man, because I just do not see him competing for a belt, man. I don't see him competing against these top 5 guys, man. He beat Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis comes into camp, with the bag of Popeyes in his hand, coming into training every day. He eats the ice cream. He's walking on the beach. Oh, good day, brother, good day, You know, Derek Lewis does not care about fighting. He did beat Curtis Blades, man. Honestly, I was really surprised when he beat Curtis Blades, bro. That was a good win, but Curtis Blades, you know, he hasn't been really looking good in his last few fights. You know, he lost to Rizvan Kuniev. That was a robbery. He lost to Aspinall. He got destroyed by Aspinall, but he did beat Curtis Blades, so... You know, but I just do not see him. He's really small for this division, guys. He's just a fat middleweight, honestly. Josh Hockett is a fat middleweight. You know, he just competes at heavyweight because there's no skill, man. There's literally no skill in this division. But I do not see Josh Hockett beating Alexander Volkov, a Pavlovich, a Pereira, a Gain, a Volkov, a Waldo. I don't think he'll beat Waldo. You know, I just do not see him cracking in there. I don't see him cracking in the top 5. You know, I think he'll stay outside the top 5, like 6, 7 range. But you know, that'll really be it. I don't think he'll ever be there. I think he'll just stay out there. And that'll do it for the video, guys. If you like it, please subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment.